for all my friends out there, raw, vegan, or not, this is a really great dessert, and I know you're gonna love it. So a lot of you have been asking me for this recipe, and so here it goes. This is a salted caramel cheesecake, and if you leave off the caramel sauce, it does a raw dessert, which I love. So the caramel sauce is cooked, so you can opt to leave that out if you want to. We start off with 4 cups of soaked cashews. You can soak them 4 to 5 hours or overnight. I'm going to set these aside. I've already soaked mine. So we're going to start with our caramel sauce. And for the caramel sauce, we're going to use 1 can of full fat coconut milk. So with this coconut milk, you know, when you go to the grocery store, sometimes it will say light. Make sure that you get the full fat. And we're going to put this into a saucepan. Come closer a little bit. And then it calls for a half a cup of coconut sugar. And I'm going to put this on high heat and then about medium, because I'm going to bring this to a boil. About half a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to stir this, and you can look in here and see this in my pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this to a full boil, and then I'm going to turn it down and simmer it for about 30 minutes. The way that you will know if this is finished is that it will turn from a light brown to a dark brown. And then I'll put it into a container. I like to use just, you know, a canning jar to put it into the refrigerator, and you can keep it up to a couple of weeks in your refrigerator. So we're going to let this cook here for a few minutes. It's almost melted. Okay, we're going to let this go to a boil, so we'll keep an eye on it, because you know when you're cooking anything with sugar, even a coconut sugar, it can burn. So you'll want to make sure that as soon as it starts to boil, you turn it down and reduce that to a simmer. So we'll just keep an eye on this. The next thing that we're going to do is our crust. So our crust is going to consist of about 10 to 12 dates, depending on their size. I like to use the medjool. They're a really plump, sweet date. They're kind of soft, which I like for the crust. These have already been pitted, so make sure. I like to use organic medjools, so make sure that you get the pit out, or you're going to have some noise going on. You're going to ruin your dessert if you get a pit crumbled up in there. So there's, let's use about 10 of these. Just a couple more. Just take the pits out of there. And now I can hear that our sauce is over here, turn the light on, boiling. So I'm just going to stir it. I'm going to get it turned down to a simmer. And I've set an alarm for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to check on that. So you can see right now that it's kind of a light brown, and it will be a dark brown. Can you see that? It'll be a dark brown when it's finished, so we'll check back on that. Alright, so back to our crust. I'm going to use a cup of shredded coconut. I like to use an unsweetened coconut because when you look on the ingredients, there's no propylene glycols or anything like that, just unsulfured coconut shreds. And you can use either pecans or almonds, a cup of either one. I used half a cup of each because I like both of them. So we'll put these in. And now we're going to just put this on and let it crumble for a few minutes in this processor. You can pulse it. Pulse it on high, or you can pulse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that it's, I'm going to put it on high for a little bit, probably for about a minute. So it kind of has a crumbly texture. I think that looks pretty good. I'm actually going to add about a half a cup of, or maybe a teaspoon of coconut oil in there. That look more like a tablespoon. And process it. To do as well is just put a little bit of that coconut oil on my fingers so that the mixture does not stick to my fingers. So I'm just going to take this and pour it into my springform pan. So you can see here, I'm just patting it down. Right up to the edges. If you've never used a springform pan, this is what you use to make a regular cheesecake, and I like to use them for my raw cheesecake desserts as well. Because you just flip this little switch here after your dessert is all done, and you can lift the outside of the ring right off, and your dessert is delicious. So you can see right here, this is just patted down in there. It's really good. And now we're going to work on the filling. I'm just going to rinse my hands out real quick. And now we're going to turn over here to the filling we're going to do in a high-powered, use a Vitamix or any high-powered kind of mixer. And for the filling, we have a 3/4 cup of water, 3/4 cup of lemon juice, and you can use either 3/4 of a cup of honey or 3/4 cups of maple syrup. Some of my raw foodie friends like to use maple syrup instead of honey, so it's up to you. I'm using maple syrup, and I like a little bit of honey too, so put a little bit of honey in there. It's about a quarter cup of honey, and I used a half a cup of the maple syrup. Now we can use either you can scrape out the pod of a vanilla bean, or you can use about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And you'll also want to add 3/4 of a cup of coconut oil. So last but not least, I'm going to come around this way and maybe over here at this sink, because I'm going to rinse and drain my cashews that have been soaked overnight. I'm just going to pour those out into the strainer here. There we go. Make sure I rinse them pretty good. also just gonna walk over here and make sure that my sauce is doing okay. It's getting a lot darker and it's looking really good. We're also gonna, it's gonna thicken up a little bit as it cooks there. So now I'm going to come around this way and put these cashews into the back mix. Now I'm going to blend this on high for about a minute, and I think my lid is in here. Yep, here it is. So we will trusty plunger so I can kind of push it down. If you don't have one of those, just give your blender a shake, and because it's kind of thick and you want to shake it a little bit. So maybe one more minute. It's really important to have it nice and creamy and smooth. Filling. And to taste delicious. I bet it does. It does. So I'm going to take the springform pan. Out the filling on top of that crumbly crust. Just want to get every last drop of it that I can. I'm going to take this, it's a frosting spreader, and I'm going to just make my cheesecake nice and smooth on the top. And I can also do this by just kind of giving it a couple of taps on the countertop. See, nice and smooth. And I'm going to put this in the freezer for about 4 hours, and then when that's done,